Welcome to Shrink Wrapped. I'm Allison Colarosi here with Dr. David Colarosi, and we are on episode 27.
How are you? I've missed you. How are you?
I've missed you. You're hairier.
I was just doing manly things this weekend.
David left to go backpacking in the rain. It must have been glorious.
It was a nightmare. It was good. I'm happy I survived. And now I can come home and talk about how manly I am. But it was a nightmare.
Well, I don't sleep well when you're gone, and now I have a few things to talk about because I stayed up all night and I watched the Gabriel Fernandez case, Netflix docuseries.
And you watched the entire thing?
I binged it from 1 to 6 a.m.
Okay, so we'll talk about Gabriel Fernandez.
I think we should talk about Simone Biles.
Okay, Gabriel Fernandez, Simone Biles.
In our book club.
Oh, in the book club. Yeah. Okay, what do you want to talk about first?
I cannot stop thinking about Gabriel Fernandez. I feel like your profession really let this boy down.
I agree. But you got to tell people who he is and what that's.
So if you guys don't know the case, Gabriel Fernandez was an 8-year-old boy that was systematically tortured and murdered by his mother and her boyfriend. And he had a rough start at the beginning. Like his mom didn't want him, and so his uncle took him for the first 4 years, and that seemed like a good, happy place. And then his uncle happened to be gay, and so the grandparents of Gabriel took him. And then
because they're afraid
they didn't want him. They didn't think he should grow up with gay parents, which is sad. And then the story is that Pearl and the boyfriend Tony.
Who's Pearl? Pearl's the mom.
Pearl's the mom. Tony took him for child support, or not child support, welfare benefits that the little boy would bring with him. So
and then they abused him.
But I mean, he didn't have a bed. They locked him with handcuffs and they put like socks in his mouth. So
I can't do that. Okay, so it's a horrible, horrific. I don't know how you watch a whole. How many hours of that did you watch?
It's probably 7 hours straight.
I seriously cannot. I don't know why I cannot stomach even hearing about it.
Well, it's interesting because I think I've been a little depressive all day about it, like thinking about how these people exist in the world that I am like so blinded to that. Like, how would you know? And there were people that knew, like his teacher knew and called social services several times. Sheriff's deputies went there. Like, no one did anything. And it was 8 months. And the coroner was saying, this is what I feel like is so eye-opening. There's like a gland in your chest that it's like basically for kids, it's like their stress gland. And it's usually 100 grams or something. Like the coroner was like 30 to 40 or sometimes even 100 grams. It's like this sack. His was shriveled down lower than 10 grams because he had been under that much stress, an 8-year-old boy. It is horrific. And I just want to know how, like, I wonder how I would respond. Would I, and you never know, but like, it's like it was like so many people failed this little boy. It's crazy. Like the social worker never, like, she would see the boy and they have to fill out a body sheet to see where he's been. She never filled it out.
Why not?
I don't know. Like, she just didn't do her job. And then a few years later, another boy under LA County's Families and Children and Families Bureau or whatever died too, like in the same county for torture, like a very similar case.
I feel like I mean, so they tried the social worker, right?
They tried to try 2 social workers and their supervisors. So there was 2 social workers and 2 supervisors. They all got tried, and then eventually after a few years it was thrown out because they are not the perpetrator. Yeah. But I'm like, but we pay you to like do a job. Like, how are you not? Like, turning your face away from the problem? What were you doing all day? And they're like, "Oh, our caseloads are so big." But like if you saw this little boy, like the teacher saw him and called that many times, like that's a major
So
downfall.
I can give you a I don't so I've not watched this documentary. I don't think I can watch it. But I can tell I've been exposed to the Child Protective Services before. And I can tell you that from a provider's standpoint, it's a little bit of a nightmare because you're calling in, and so often if you're a therapist or if you're a teacher or if you're whoever in someone's life, a lot of times you don't quite know, like, is this abuse or is this like what happened? This kid broke his arm, and you think maybe the parent did it, or you think maybe the parent didn't, or maybe mom's drinking and she's drinking. Like I've done it before where I knew mom was getting drunk while she was caring for her kids. So I had to make a report. And you call and make a report, and it is not like they're in a position to go, hey, thanks for calling and this adds value. They're very sort of stoic and stern. And what's the person's name? Do you have a name? Do you know who the person is? Do you have any evidence? You have to be prepared as the clinician or as the teacher to make an argument for why you are calling them. If you don't have all of the information, like if you don't know that something happened, if you don't know who the perpetrator is, if you're not sure about it, then there's a vibe which is you're wasting our time.
Well, I got that. I get the teacher, but Stephanie Rodriguez, the social worker, is the person she was calling. So Stephanie Rodriguez was supposed to be the social worker checking on the boy.
But so I haven't watched the documentary, but usually the social worker is not the person who checks on the boy. The social worker would call Child Protective Services. Child Protective Services would go check on the boy. And Child Protective Services who I have also worked with before, they do have caseloads that are insane. And so what they're supposed to do is go do that check that you're talking about. But if they don't have evidence of anything, and they do that checklist that you're talking about, they're supposed to go through and mark everything they've seen. And what happens is they get lazy and they go, I don't see abuse, and they don't mark anything down. I mean, I've heard horror stories of this. This is how it happens, is they go nothing, and they don't fill out any information. And the next person goes nothing, they don't fill out any information. And the way the system is supposed to work is if one person goes and checks and there is a head injury, and there's that, maybe it's not enough to say that it's abuse, but first person goes and checks and sees head injury. Next person goes in and checks and sees arm injury. Next person goes in and checks. The idea is that it stacks on each other and it hits a certain threshold, and then they can intervene.
Well,
and if you're lazy throughout.
Yes, I understand that. Except Stephanie was not filling out a body chart, but was writing high risk, severe risk. Oh. Shot with a BB gun by his mother. Like, it was all documented, except no action taken. She never took the boy to... the protocol was for her to take the boy to a hub. It's called a hub, where it's a child abuse medical clinic. Like, he had several broken ribs. He had cigarette burns all over his face. His hair had been pulled out.
All right, so, well, I can't defend that.
So I get it, like, hey, your caseload, but, like, come on. Like, this is not the job for you if you're going to say you're overworked. Like, get out. You're not in this job to just collect a paycheck. The other thing that really bothered me was the welfare. The domestic violence person at the welfare distribution center or wherever noticed that the boy had been abused, but when she asked her supervisor if she should report it, the supervisor said, I don't want to pay you overtime. And so the domestic violence person did not report it. The security guard saw the little boy and was like, I know this is a HIPAA violation, I don't care, I'm reporting it. But nothing happened. Wow. Like, can you imagine being that person? That's her whole job, is to be the domestic violence person. I just feel like every part of the system broke down for this little boy. The sheriffs went there several times. Nothing.
It sounds like the system definitely broke down. I guess I also just want to say that
4 social workers' eyes were on this case and let it happen. And he was straight up telling his teacher, my mom knocked my teeth out.
Oh, God. I don't know what to say. I just hate, I feel like the people that are working in child protective services and the social workers are I mean, they're good people. And so I'm trying to wrap my head around how it could be, what you're describing is such an egregious, it's beyond negligence.
But that is the defense of each other throughout the whole thing, is these are good people. And I'm like, are they though? Are they though? You do child abuse, but you don't fill out a body chart. Like that seems.
I think it's fair. I think it's a fair. You're right. Especially when it says
you're gonna take the mom's word at face value and not ask to see the little boy. That happened several times after the teacher had called, and every time the teacher called, the boy would come back like be tardy for 13 days and come back like a train wreck. The teacher would call again, then the teacher would feel guilty for it. I want to be like, teacher. I would have been like, I want to meet your mom. You're going to stay here. We're going to wait for her to get here. We can meet eye to eye, but I'm sure she was scary. That Pearl looked very scary. But still.
It sounds awful. I don't know. That sounds.
It was terrible, and it's haunting me all day. And if you guys
she keeps talking about it.
I can't. It's been haunting me, but I also feel like I need more information. There's not enough information about the boyfriend that got sentenced to death. Like, what's his background? Pearl's was trauma. Her dad was in and out of jail. The grandparent that was raising him, so that just another one, in and out of jail, and her mom beat her, so she ran away at 11. And like a psychologist that assessed her said she was like basically had the intellect of a second grader, but it didn't make sense because she didn't seem like that. She seemed smarter than a second grader. But she had started doing meth when she was 9.
Jesus. What's the reaction video? What do you want to know about?
Who are you
just want to know, how does this happen?
Well, does it go back to the body keeps score?
I'm sure the body has kept score with both mom and boyfriend.
There's no information about the boyfriend anywhere.
But I promise you that there's a trauma background. No question.
Do you become and how do you have 3 kids and pinpoint one?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I know that happens.
And make the other ones hurt him. And the brother would be like to him, Gabriel, just like fall down right away. I won't really hurt you. Like, can you imagine?
Mm-mm.
It's a lot.
I wish you hadn't watched it. I feel like I can't get it. I can't watch it. I keep getting bombarded by Gabriel stories. It sounds so awful.
It's just so it's he looks like Enzo. That's why it was the hardest part.
All right, so can we do a lighter topic?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, no, we don't have any. Simone Biles. You did a reaction to that.
First of all, people are freaking nuts about Simone Biles.
I know.
Just like the amount of people, it's amazing because I've not read a single athlete that has come out and said anything other than good for her, let's support her, mental health is important. Poor Simone, clearly she's going through something and we should all rally behind her.
Yeah.
And then there's got these, in my eyes, just, I don't know what you call them, but just these all of a sudden people that that have never watched any gymnastics that are just outraged at the fact that she's not representing the United States.
Well, okay, 2 things. Everyone's seen gymnastics for the Olympics. I don't know what you're talking about. It's the best event.
I don't know, but I get it. But why are these people so outraged, like as though they've been tracking Simone and U.S. gymnastics for years? These people. Everybody watches gymnastics once every 4 years.
I think it's really interesting that they feel like they can understand someone's mental state.
It's like the arrogance around. I don't understand to be outraged. And I mean,
do you think she wants to do that?
I put a video up, and every comment, comments are either whatever, good for Simone, and then there's this segment of maybe it's 10% or 5% of the comments which are, I 100% knew that she was lazy and selfish. Really? Like what? So she doesn't have any mental fortitude.
Does she? What?
I mean, wow.
Did you hear Joe Rogan talk about it though? I thought it was super fascinating.
And it is insane to me that the media has not picked that up. I think I don't understand. I don't understand our media sometimes.
Well, because maybe it's not validated. You know, that's like a very personal. So Joe Rogan said he found out that Simone Biles has ADHD and takes Ritalin.
Which is, by the way, so I heard that and I went and looked it up, and that is true. There's no doubt about that. There are articles of her talking about how she got a medical exemption in 2016 so that she could take Concerta or whatever she's taking, Ritalin, one of those types of drugs. Definitely has ADHD. And the question is, in Japan, apparently, according to Joe Rogan, you're not allowed to take Concerta or Ritalin or any of those kind of drugs because of amphetamines.
Yeah.
So because she can't take amphetamines, has that put her, which would, to me, makes a tremendous amount of sense, that would put her in a position where she would not feel sort of locked in.
She wouldn't feel like herself and focused.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine taking it like your whole life and then all of a sudden to compete in like that type of stakes, not being able to focus? Mm-hmm. And it's not just the medication, it's like the routine of it.
Right.
Like this is how I live my life. And you're gonna
now why the US Gymnastics Committee or organization or whatever they're called, association, why they wouldn't have had her for the last 4 years compete without her medication. Like, they knew the rules in Japan. Why not let her prepare to compete without the ADHD meds? Like, wouldn't you think you'd prep for that?
I do feel like we don't know if she prepped for it or not, and it just...
But I'm just saying that's the part of it that doesn't quite make sense, is they would be insane not to have... Of course, they would also be insane, by the way, not to have a sports psychologist available.
Could she borrow somebody else's?
You know they're all over the place at the Olympics. She
but
has
maybe
a breakdown.
They aren't.
She has a break. Well, then they're idiots.
It's COVID. They're like dying of COVID in Japan. It's not under control.
They have allergists that go there. They have allergists. They have team doctors. They have trainers. Get a sports. Put a mask on the guy, for my God, or the girl. But that's insane to me that they don't have somebody on the floor that's a sports psychologist. So that when somebody gets the twisties or whatever she got, that she can't go talk to someone that can help her
deal with it.
Steady herself.
Yeah, the twisties are interesting. I feel like you got that off the diving board.
Oh my God, we're going to derail this. I went to the diving board, like it was a 3-meter diving board, which doesn't sound very high, but 3 meters felt high to me. But I tried to do a spin off of it and to impress Enzo. And so I jump off of it and I twist as hard as I can to try and do a spin. And I am just getting old where I jump off. My body didn't spin, but I swear my head, like, it turned like an owl's head. And I just cranked my neck.
David, it's like you're a lemon.
I feel like I am.
You do this all the time.
And I go, oh my God, I hurt my neck so bad. And everybody's like, you just jumped off the diving board. But all I did was just go off and crank my neck and hit the water. Now, they didn't bang into anything. I just super uncoordinated and old. But anyway,
I just feel like you're always doing stuff like that. Yeah. So super sad about Simone Biles.
Do you think she'll compete? She bailed on the team. She bailed on the all around, and looks like she's bailed on the floor. She's bailed on the vault, and she's bailed on the uneven bars. Do you think she'll compete on Wednesday on the beam?
Is that her strongest?
Her strength is the floor.
I don't know. I just hope for the best. I feel like those gymnasts, I basically feel like they're tortured their entire lives.
Well,
and that's the saddest thing to me.
If you look at the gymnasts like Allie Raisman, Michaela Maroney, I haven't seen anything from Gabby Douglas, but the people that were, the past generations of U.S. gymnasts have been very much supporting Simone Biles and very much sort of saying that this is all related to, in some way, to Larry Nassar's abuse. Like Michaela Maroney's Twitter, for example. She is being very clear about how the USGA or whatever it is, all those organizations mistreated her, and she thinks has mistreated Simone, and that's what Simone's dealing with.
I believe. I mean, did you listen to the podcast called Believed about the gymnast? I mean, another one of my light listens.
Dive deep on the horror stories.
But it's like crazy. Like the Karolis they all trained at the Karoli camps in the summer or gymnastics. The Karolis' whole thing was to break little girls down. They wanted to little girls break them down so that they could mold them the way they wanted. So it's like basically mind control, and it's interesting. Like all the coaches knew that Larry Nassar was doing it, and like they turned their head. It's so bizarre to me. Like it's the same thing that happened with Gabriel Fernandez. Like, what is going on? Are you like, how can you watch evil and be like,
What I don't understand is
not my job.
This idea of not my job, and this whole idea of breaking people down and building them up again. I feel like I keep hearing different organizations. Like I know the military supposedly tries to do that. I know fraternities try and do that. I know that you're talking about the gymnastics committee or whatever, it's association trying to do that. And like I know a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists. I know a lot of people in the mental health field. There's not a single person I have ever interacted with that I think has the skill, the competency, or even the arrogance, or whatever we want to call it, to know enough about somebody's psychology to break them down and then systematically build them back up. Like the idea sounds good. It's like the same thing when psychologists say, "Oh, I know how to analyze you." Bullshit. No one knows how to analyze. And so like this whole idea of I'm a coach, I'm going to destroy who you are and I'm going to build you up, I think is such BS. Like there is nobody there that really has the ability to do that in any kind of systematic or intentional way. I just don't buy it.
I agree, but I think I misspoke. I think the Karolis were basically just breakdown so that they could control. It had nothing to do with building them up.
Okay, so then I'm okay. Then I'm not okay with it, but that makes sense.
That's why they didn't want women. They wanted girls.
Yeah.
You know, like prepubescent girls. Yeah. It's just like so sick.
Right. You're not yes. But this whole idea of, I guess to me that's what it should be called. Just breaking people down.
We want to destroy people.
But don't delude yourself. I don't care if you're the military or who you are, into thinking that you are really in any way systematically building people up. I just simply don't buy it.
Yeah. Anyway, good luck, Simone. We are cheering for you. And sorry that you're going through this. And Larry Nassar, gross.
Yes.
And all those people that turned a blind eye.
It does make you think if you're in one of those
roles. You planted a seed for yourself. That's all I have to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I find myself being like, I think that it's a tough environment. I get what you're right, but it also is a tough environment. I mean, if you knew the number of semi-abuse victims that a social worker or Child Protective Services interacts with, I think it's not like, I mean, they're looking and they're going to 10 houses a day, and they all kind of look the same. And the parents are saying the same. I mean, it is a grueling job, and I think it is really hard to decide what is good parenting, what is shitty parenting, and what is abuse, right? And you don't have the right to intervene if it's shitty parenting. You know what I mean? And I think that there's now the case of Gabriel, obviously it's shitty parenting, but I do know that it's a stressful job because you're trying to figure that out and you don't want to overstep, because if you overstep, then you can be sued. If you start yanking kids out of houses and there wasn't abuse, then you're on the hook for, destroying someone's home life. You know what I mean? It's not.
I understand that. I just think the amount of calls
to
this house.
I
just feel like we can't, like when you try to defend these social workers, the rage I feel.
All right. Okay. I haven't even watched this one. I don't want to just sit here and dump on,
No. I know they're not all like that, but LA County needs to get it together, because it's like kid after kid. And it's sad. It's really sad.
You mean about your book club? Al, how'd your book club go?
Well, I finished the book and I thought it was really, really good. I'm not sure. We had a lot of interest in the book club, but no one signed up for it. So we didn't do it. But
It went out to our millions of subscribers.
Well, I thought people wanted to do it.
Well,
but
I think that we made a couple of errors.
Okay.
Error one was we were not, and we have not been with Shrink Wrapped. We've not been consistent. And we said, okay, book club, we're going to do a book club. And then we just took off for 3 weeks or whatever it was before we responded. And then we picked a book which I said I hated on the prior podcast. Probably shouldn't have done that. And you also picked the world's longest book. That's the most boring book in the first 3 quarters. Like you liked the last quarter, but the beginning you didn't like.
Yeah. We made some errors and we're going to rectify
Hold on,
it.
can I do one more error? And we said we're going to do a live stream at 10 p.m. Mountain Time, which puts it at midnight East Coast. Right? So if somebody wanted to be on it, I think that we may have to rethink that.
Anyway, we're going to do a redo, and we're going to let you know about another book. The one I want to do, and tell me if you guys think this is good, Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows.
What?
It was on Reese Witherspoon's book club list. And our friend's mom read it.
This is a real shift in direction. Erotic Stories for Punjabi women.
Widows.
Okay.
But let me know if you also want to read it.
I think that's a good... And are you going to do...
It was on Reese Witherspoon's book club top list of must-reads.
I'm excited about that.
Are you going to read it?
Yeah. Maybe if it's good, if you like it.
And we're going to do it September 7th at 9 p.m. Mountain.
September 7th, 9 p.m. Mountain. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do it because presumably by then somebody will want to join our group.
Yeah. Please join our book club.
Okay. September 7th, 9 p.m. Mountain. Because we just can't do it. Like we would like to do it earlier, but I feel like we have kids. I don't have to do it with our kids.
Yeah.
All right.
Please join. Let us know in the notes how we could do better with that.
Yeah. If you have ideas about how to do a book club better than this, let us know.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much.